David Simmons.
Madam Deputy Speaker, it's a privilege to follow the Honourable Member for Keighley and share many of his sentiments about this gracious Queen's speech. There is much to welcome, Madam Deputy Speaker, in the measures outlined, from our armed forces to refugees to our youngest children, but time requires us all to focus on a few key points. And the theme of today is thinking very much about future generations. So the points I want to make are very specifically in that area. Firstly, there is a need to provide certainty for the future about a plan for social care. And whilst I have heard a good deal of criticism of the government in recent days, all of us who are familiar with the social care system will recognise that the solutions are not necessarily ones that require new laws. For example, the way in which we approach the funding of the sector, the structure of the sector, the work between the NHS and local authorities are not things which require new laws. But what we do know, and what I'm very pleased that the government recognises, is that our local authorities have consistently, in the work that we've already done in reforming the social care sector, been the most efficient at using the resources available because they know their communities best. And it's absolutely vital as we think about the future of social care in our country, given it is a sector in which only a small part of its work relates directly to what happens in the NHS, that we do make that resource go as far as possible. So we need a council-led system that places people and communities at its heart. And I look forward to hearing the proposals which I know government is working on in that area. The second area in which I'm thinking very much about future generations is in securing homes, home ownership and access to social housing, to rented homes for the people and the generations that are to come. I very much welcome the fact that the government has recognised that one size does not fit all across our country in this respect. It is important that we reduce the burden of national guidance, which leads to developers seeing sites as investments to sell on, rather than serving the interests of the community by building new homes. It remains my view that making the local authority decision final and ending the cycle of appeals and lobbying would see those homes delivered much more swiftly. But it's really important that the freedoms and the provisions that have been outlined in respect of reform of planning and zoning are used by our local authorities, and that we focus not just on absolute numbers of units, but also that we focus on the types of units, so that in communities like Ruislip, Northern and Pinner, we see the development of more downsizer units so that communities can remain intact whilst we are improving the supply of family-sized homes in a local area. Madam Deputy Speaker, moving on to the Skills and Post-16 Education Bill. As someone who spent much of my life in and around the education sector, I enormously welcome the provisions that have been outlined, in particular the flexibility to move away from a situation where it can feel like all or nothing at school leaving age to a situation where as people develop throughout their lives, they can continue to access the support that they require to retrain, to develop themselves. And the Early Years Health Development Review, which I've been involved with, is something which, again, is a fantastic opportunity to build on the work done by local authorities, by local NHS providers, to transform the life chances of young children and make sure that they get a start in life that sets them up for a bright future. Finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, preserving nature and wildlife is something that is close to my heart and close to the heart of many of my constituents in Ruislip, Northern and Pinner, which is a key part of the green lungs of our capital city and an important destination for leisure. I particularly welcome the proposals in the bill on animal welfare. I have significant concerns expressed by constituents that some of the elements would reduce the ability of conservation projects abroad to raise funds through charging people for hunting as part of their herd welfare and management activities. I'm pleased to see that the proposals today seem to strike a much better balance between ensuring that the economic contribution that's made by that hunting activity in those countries to conservation that's led to a transformational change in the resources to support animals who may be otherwise at risk will be able to continue whilst we enhance the protection that is afforded to endangered species, something which I know my constituents and I personally very much want to see. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, there is a huge amount to commend in this Queen's speech. I very much associate myself with the support given by colleagues across the Conservative benches. And I look forward to seeing these implemented and making a difference to the lives of the people I'm here to serve.